and welcome on. My next guest, we got Jamison Coyle, NHL Network host. Jamison, hockey's coming back.
It's coming. It's taken a long time to get to this point, but I think all good things, have to build and build, and I think we're at that point. So yeah, a week away, and just drop the puck. Let's go.
So how did this all come together? Because I know for months it was kind of like they're not really saying much, but they're going to have a good plan, but they're not really disclosing what location is, and then there's rumored locations, and they're kind of just dropping down until they land on the two they're going to do it at.
Yeah. It may not have looked like there was much going on, but I think behind the scenes it was incredible amounts of work from both the league standpoint and from the players and the Players Association. Just one, agreeing to terms on everything that's going to be safe for everybody involved, and two, to make sure that I think we were at a point as a society that we're ready for sports. They didn't want to do anything if it was going to take away from the people that need the medical supplies the most. And I think we're at that point where people are comfortable enough to finally get sports back in the mix. So I think there was an incredible amount of effort and planning from the league standpoint. I think they had plan A, B, C, D, all the way through probably Z. And I don't know how many of these times they scrapped it, had to go to the next one, or kind of pivot on a dime. I think Vegas was in the mix, and they were a front runner to host as a hub city for some time, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, Vegas is out because of the resurgence in cases there. So I think incredible amount of flexibility on both the league and the Players Association standpoint to, one, hammer out the details on this thing, and two, just come together in a time of uncertainty and kind of put the fans and the product on the forefront. And that's what matters most, and both sides got it done. And like you said, we're about a week away from dropping the puck. It's going to be fantastic.
And remind me, the two locations are
Edmonton and Toronto.
All right.
Yeah.
How did they reserve Canada for the next few months? And can the NFL do it later this year? Because Canada has been on their best behavior. U.S., other hand, not so much.
Right, exactly. It's a numbers game too, right? With things and spreading. And you look at Canada, I think the entire population of the entire country is less than the state of California.
Yeah.
So they've got that working in their favor. Obviously they did a better job up there. Maybe they were more prepared for it, or people are abiding by, what we need to be doing up there a little bit better than what we're doing down across the border down here. So look, I don't think it matters where it's going to be. It doesn't have fans. It's going to be in an isolated bubble. So you could throw this thing in the middle of the ocean as long as they could skate. And I think it's going to have the same effect. So for the fans that are really wanting this to come back, they're going to watch it on TV anyway. So whether it's Edmonton, Toronto, Sri Lanka, it doesn't matter. Hockey's coming back. And as long as it's the safest place for these people and the employees and the family members who are allowed eventually into the bubble, then I'm fine with it. Doesn't matter where.
Because hockey is not, probably – I'm more football, basketball. When I saw that video that they put out the other day with the song
The
The Greatest Show.
Oh, yeah.
I got more amped for that video.
Right.
For a sport
right.
I regularly do not watch than for any other sporting event I've seen in the last 4 months.
Yeah, I watched that about 17 times in a row, and then I proceeded to run through my garage doors. I was so, we've been waiting 4 months for this, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's been like teasing us, so to speak, and all of a sudden they just drop that thing, and then you're starting to see players back on the ice for these official training camps, and my colleagues and media members in other cities that cover these teams, they're officially traveling to Toronto, Edmonton. They're in the bubble now. It feels real. So it's all systems go at this point. It's going to be great.
So for people that really have been following along, how did they come to decide on Toronto and Edmonton, and how is this going to work in comparison to what like the NBA is doing in Orlando?
Yeah, so Orlando is just one city, whereas the NHL has two: Toronto, Edmonton, Eastern Conference teams, Western Conference teams. How they landed on those two cities, Toronto's kind of the hockey hub, and I guess they've done a great job up there. It's the equivalent of New York City, I guess, in the United States. But it sounds like they've got the situation under control from a COVID standpoint. So I think natural fit for Toronto based on hotels, things that they need to make this thing work. And I don't know the nuts and bolts of what all the requirements were, but Edmonton is a brand new arena. I know they've built up the location around Roger Rogers Place a lot as far as hotels and things like that. So I think those two cities check the boxes as far as what needed to take place for this insulated bubble. There were some other cities in the mix: Chicago, LA, Vegas, so to speak. But I just think, when you kind of look at what's going to work and what's not going to work, I think these were the two best cities, and the two best cities as far as where they were at numbers wise for COVID-19. So I think that's how they landed on those two hub cities. As far as how it's going to work, it's going to be incredible. 24 teams, 4 teams in the East, 4 teams in the West get a bye, so to speak, but they'll play 3 games in a round robin format, and however they do in that pool play kind of determines their seeding coming out of that. 1 through 4. So let's say you're the Boston Bruins in the East right now, and you're the only team in the regular season to hit 100 points. You should have the number 1 seed, but you're not necessarily going to get it. You still have to play these 3 games, and if your record is good enough, then you'll get the number 1 seed. But the Bees could fall all the way down to the 4th seed in the East. So another little wrinkle in things, which is certainly going to be fun. I root for organized chaos, and I think we're going to get it with this tournament. But for the qualifying round, it's going to be a best of 5. And so you have, 24 minus those 8 teams. So 16 teams competing in that. And best of 5. And you win 3 games, you're moving on to the next round.
That's awesome.
Should be fun.
Are the players all there now in their respective cities?
They are getting there. Not all the players are there. Media members are going there right now. Players are still in their respective cities for camps right now, training camps, and then I think they'll head that way at the start of next week, and they'll play 1 exhibition game in that hub city, and then it's qualifying round and round robin starting, I believe, August 1st, so next Saturday.
Yeah, and then so in the past few weeks, they've been. I assume since a lot of guys are from overseas, they got to get everybody here, and then they've been doing a lot of testing to the point where maybe the team might leave, and not all the players are going, and they can join them once they test negative.
Right. Yeah, I don't know all the specifics of that. It's very different depending on what country you're coming from, how long you have to quarantine. I know a lot of the European guys who were overseas during the quarantine had to come back and then quarantine in place for 2 weeks. We've had situations pop up, and just mention the Bruins again. David Pastrnak, he took part in an on-ice session by himself, and then was held out the first day of training camp just because he was around somebody who tested positive for COVID-19. So then he got tested. The test came back negative. So there is a lot of testing going on right now. Each team, I think, is responsible for that, individual testing right now until they get to the hub cities. And then I'm pretty sure they're going to be tested at least once a day in those hub cities. We got some details about the testing, and it's incredible. Not only the players, staff members, but anybody that comes not even in contact with these players or these teams, but along the line of the chain of events that lead to, let's say, a player getting room service at his hotel, like chefs, cooks, and stuff. Everybody inside of that bubble is getting tested on a daily basis. So it's intense, but at the end of the day, it's safety first. So.
And then in the event that a player pulled, like the guy in the Kings went out to grab takeout the other day and met with that delivery driver, is there a protocol if the guy leaves the bubble?
There's nothing like we've seen. I think, what was it, baseball, like the Blue Jays players or something like that?
No.
$750,000 and up to a year in jail, or there was
that
some
was
kind
insane. It was insane.
Insane. So I think that was a scare tactic. Hopefully, I hope we're not prosecuting any of our own players, but no, I think a lot of the captains and leaders of these teams have come out and said, look, if we want to win the cup, this is on us. This is on us to stay healthy, and they take it as a major responsibility. And I think they don't take this situation lightly. Like, this isn't, this isn't your standard like little mites tournament where you're gonna, everybody knows the medical ramifications of this thing and how quickly we could get the stop sign on this whole thing. And trust me, you don't want to be the guy that puts the stop sign on this incredible 2014 tournament, because you're going to have a lot of players upset with you. You're going to have the entire NHL fan base upset at you, and you're going to have my household coming at you because we've all been quarantined too long. So as far as I know, there's no set ramifications. I think there are discipline situations. I think teams could lose up to a draft pick and things like that, or players, if they do if they do violate the bubble restrictions, it's just all coming back to me right now, that they could get kicked out of this tournament too. So, risk reward if you want that takeout really that bad. But, at the end of the day, you might not get a shot at the Stanley Cup. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, if you really want shrimp, it might be worth it. I don't think your team might
Right?
be great. No, and then so I'm in DC now. What do you think of the Caps? What do you think of their chances?
Strong, very strong. I mean, always one of the top teams in the East. But the one thing I will note about the Caps, and I was playing EA Sports NHL 20, a lot of video game hockey over the last couple of months, but with one of my good friends, Mike Kelly, who's he's a big stats guy up in Canada. Yeah, works for TSN, does some work for us at the NHL Network, and he noticed something about the Capitals and Braden Holtby. He said the only thing that kind of mimics what we're going to see here, as far as like 4 months off, would be the start of a season. So he took goaltenders in the last 5 years and looked at their first 10 starts of an NHL season, and who are some of those goalies that might get off to a slow start, may not benefit them in a tournament like this. And Braden Holtby was one of those guys, just kind of notoriously a slow starter, but we all know what Holtby can do. Yeah. So we'll see. We've never played a scenario like this, so we only have those stats to go off of. But they certainly have a great 1 and 1A situation down there in Washington with Samsonov in net too. But again, Samsonov, maybe like this situation with the Rangers, here's a young stud goalie who doesn't quite have NHL playoff experience. So we'll see. Obviously, Holtby's the guy early on, and how short that leash is, I don't know. But when it comes to, the firepower up front, John Carlson could win the Norris this year. Who knows? I mean, that team is as good as they've been in the last couple of years, and we know they won the Cup. So they've got another crack at it this year, and they've got just as good as a chance as some of the top teams in the East. I think they're up there with Boston and Tampa.
I just got an update that apparently all the NBA players tested negative over the last round of tests. So good news. Good news all around. That's what we want. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then something else. Do you think that the elongated hiatus with so many players not playing hockey for such a long time, maybe longer than they've ever done before, does that benefit, and then returning back, does that benefit the older players with veteran experience or some of the younger guys with fresher legs?
And returning back to playoff games, right? These aren't exhibition. We don't have a full on training camp, preseason, things like that. So initially, I thought it benefits. I still do. I think it benefits older players, and veteran players, right? Guys who nobody goes into the Stanley Cup playoffs healthy these days, and we know what a grueling playoff run it can be. So I think teams like Tampa, who had Steven Stamkos, he was injured. He's back to full health, or at least should be once Phase 4 begins. Carolina, a team with a guy like Dougie Hamilton, he was going to miss the playoffs if they made the playoffs. Oh, wow. He's now back in the mix. Boston again, that old veteran core, Chara, Bergeron.
How's Chara's jaw? How's his jaw doing? I remember last year it was not looking pretty.
I know it was not looking pretty.
He played though. I give him credit.
To play through what that guy played through, and then to find out that it wasn't one fracture, it was multiple face fractures. He could barely breathe. You talk about just a gladiator. Big Z is certainly that.
And he wears a mask. And he wears a mask too. He knows.
Exactly. He's doing it the right way. Yeah. So I think it certainly benefits the veteran players. But then I also, jumping into the studio a couple of times last week, get the benefit of our analysts who have played the game. And a lot of those guys think it benefits some of these young guys too, because, fresh legs, but these guys, they don't need time to ramp it up anymore. They can just jump in. They're go, Energizer bunnies, and they don't know what they don't know, right? We've never gone through a scenario like this before. Yeah, they haven't either. So you don't know what you don't know. It's youthful legs and a youthful mindset, I think, would benefit a lot of these young teams in the playoffs too. So that's my hedging my bet, saying it benefits both veteran people and young people. So if you're in the league 3 years of service, who knows? I don't know how it plays out for you, but it'll be interesting to see. We can only speculate at this point because we've never seen it before.
No. Who's your dark horse to win it all?
My dark horse to win it all. I don't. Chicago, maybe, if you wanted to go dark horse. I just think, look, if Corey Crawford's healthy, we know what he can do. He's maybe the most unappreciated Stanley Cup playoff goaltender in NHL history. He's led that team to 2 Stanley Cup championships. They still have that same core of guys with Kane and Taves. And then they've got some of these young studs too, with DeBrincat and Dominic Kubalik, who was up for the finalist for the Calder this year. So I think that's a team that maybe goes overlooked in the West. That's a team that wasn't going to make the playoffs, but now that they're in the mix, I think anything can happen. My favorites in the East are still going to be Boston and Tampa, but I think a dark horse in the East could be a team like New York Rangers, who, came on with all kinds of steam. Artemi Panarin, they've got a young decor, 3 goalies that they could start in game 1 in net. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but those are my favorites in the East. And in the West, I would say Colorado's kind of my team, and that's another team that kind of benefits from this long layoff. They get fully healthy. I think Mikko Rantanen was a little banged up heading into the playoffs, but that top line of Rantanen, Landeskog, and McKinnon, and then you add a guy like Cale Makar on the back end, and a youngster like Bowen Byram on that back end as well. A rookie who's never played an NHL game, and now he's going to get thrown right into the playoffs. I think that team has the mix of, veteran leadership and young talent. So they're a team to watch out West too. So
I saw a rumor. I don't know. I think it was before they came up with the whole plan. They said that if all goes well, they were considering letting the Stanley Cup teams play their home games in their respective cities. Is that not happening?
I haven't heard concrete information. I think it's still a fluid situation moving forward. I had heard that similar report about a month ago that said if we got to a point that, yes, they may do, home arenas without fans or even maybe 2,000 fans. I don't know where we're at on that because I think, the commissioner kind of reiterates this every time he makes a public appearance. Look, we're day to day. And we talked about that flexibility and being able to pivot, how the league has kind of come up with these hub cities in this whole tournament. So I don't think anything moving forward is set in stone. We may have to hit pause. We may have to relocate. I think they're planning for all kinds of scenarios. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing for the league is to hand out the Stanley Cup this year. And whatever way that looks, I think they'll get it done.
Definitely. Do you think any of the guys are going to be – I saw the other day, I was watching I think one of the guys in the Yankees who's playing with a mask. Do you think you'll see any guys with a little, maybe a mouth covering or a nose covering, or do you think they're just going to look like normally?
Yeah, I think they'll look normal. I don't know. I mean, trust me, my level of expertise as far as being a hockey player ended in high school, but it's hard enough to breathe on the ice with kind of those bubble shields that some players have to wear. We saw, Char and some of those guys who break their jaws have to wear those, and they always talk about how tough it is. So I don't think they're going to be wearing masks on the ice. I think you'll see them coming into the arenas, anything not to do with on ice activities. They'll be wearing those masks just because, it's the right thing to do, and it sets a great example for the fans out there watching these guys as far as what it takes to kind of get back to some semblance of normalcy. So, I don't think masks on the ice, but who knows? I could be surprised.
And then speaking of on the ice, of course, everybody in hockey, they love to fight. You take the mask off, but now you really don't want to take the mask off because of everything. You kind of want to limit as much exposure to somebody else as possible. Is there going to be, do you think, added officiating to kind of make sure, hey, we can't really do what we have been doing. We want to keep you guys safe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can tinker with the game, right? So look, fighting is drastically been reduced in the last. There's no more orchestrated fights, and you're going to see even less of that in the playoffs because every game, every minute, every penalty, special teams means so much to these teams and can shift momentum in your favor. So I think if a fight happens based on emotions or a need in that moment, I think you're going to see it. I don't think players are going to change the way that they play. And again, they're only going to get to play if they are cleared and free of coronavirus. So at that point, you should be safe to resume all activities that we see in a normal regular season or playoff scenario. So I don't think you'll see, guys hesitating to drop the mitts or anything like that.
I'd love to see.
We may not see goal celebrations though,
interesting.
The little huddle or the high fives and stuff. I saw in baseball the other night, instead of the high five line, they did leg kicks, leg taps.
No.
So
don't even do anything. Just don't even do anything if you didn't do that.
I know. I did see something. I think it was a scrimmage the other day. I don't know if it was the Avs or the Penguins, but it was somebody scored and they all, they were 3 feet away, socially distanced, helmet taps and stuff. It was kind of funny. It was decent. We'll see. Guys are creative, and we'll see what they come up with. But I think they're, I don't think we're going to see the standard huddle like we used to.
Is the last player on every bench the designated hand sanitizer guy, just kind of getting everybody going after plays?
Yeah, he gets the Purell. That's Team Purell guy at the end.
Yeah. But I'm excited, honestly. I have more confidence in hockey finishing out their season than any other sport. Plus, they get to play in safe Canada and U.S. NFL, apparently now they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do daily testing. I don't know why it took them months to figure that out. NBA, guys getting takeout. Guys are trying to bring girls in, and the season hasn't even started yet. And then Florida's the biggest hotspot in the country, which is fantastic. Baseball, they're acting like nothing's going on, nothing's going on in the world, and they're just kind of going from place to place. We'll see if that works. But I think I have more confidence in hockey than anything else. But this has been a lot of fun. So for people that don't already follow you, how can they find you on social media?
At Jamison Coyle on Twitter and at Jamison Coyle on Instagram. And we're on NHL Network. NHL Tonight is Monday through Friday right now, and I think we're ramping up our coverage once playoffs start August 1st. So I think we might have games, but you talk about a dream scenario for a hockey fan. It's essentially the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament just with playoff hockey. So it doesn't get any better.
I still have a perfect bracket. It hasn't. I'm waiting on Warren Buffett to call me because I haven't lost the game yet, but nobody's played yet. But everybody's got a perfect bracket.
That could blow up quite quickly this year because we don't know how it's going to play out.
No, I mean for NCAA from March.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
No,
Dayton
won,
I got Dayton. Dayton's going far. So
yeah. My bracket got busted early on.
Oh yeah. No, everybody's got bracket. The Ivy League was the biggest sleeper this year, and then everything kind of imploded. But this has been a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to watching it, and I can't wait for hockey to start.
My pleasure. Great talking to you.
Appreciate it.